Good evening, everyone. Good morning, everyone, depending where you are. If you're Eastern Standard Time, it's just after midnight. If you are Israel time, it's early in the morning in Israel. I'm Meir Weinstein. I'm joined with Baruch and Yoseph. Baruch is up on Har Bayit, the Temple Mount right now. We're going to be talking about the Parsha Vayetzi. We're also going to be talking about the joke of a UN resolution, again condemning Israel, claiming that the Jewish people are not indigenous to the land of Israel. Essentially what they're saying is that the Bible is not true at all, or that the Jewish people have nothing to do with the Bible, but invading Arabs who trespassed into the land of Israel and built a mosque on our holiest site. They want to say that they are the indigenous people, and we have absolutely no rights. Well, we are conducting this broadcast live from the Temple Mount. We reject all of those assertions by the United Nations. We could really care less what they say. The land of Israel, all of it belongs to the Jewish people. And in this parsha, we have Yaakov, who actually had a dream. He lay down to sleep. He didn't even know what the place was that he lay down to sleep in this week's parsha. And he lay down and he had a dream, and he dreamt about ladders and angels ascending and descending from up to heaven from earth. And when he woke up, he said, wow, I didn't even realize what this place was. This place is awesome. This is the gateway to heaven. This is the holiest place on earth, and that is the Temple Mount. So, and it belongs to the Jewish people. Baruch, what could you tell us?
Well, since you, let's start off where you left off, talking about that midrash where Yaakov is leaving the area of Beersheba in the south, in the Negev, and he's headed up north to go to Rivka's family, his mother's family, so that Esau, his brother, doesn't kill him. And on the way, like you said, he stops in on the Temple Mount, Mount Moriah, as it was known back then. And like you said, he didn't realize the holiness of the place because it was yet to be known. Although that's where Yitzchak was taken to be sacrificed by Abraham, but again, he wasn't there, and I guess he didn't know the holiness of the place. He goes there and he lies down to sleep and has that dream. And well, first of all, before we get into the dream, talk about the fact that Yaakov calls it Beit El. He calls it Beit El, the house of God. And the fact that he uses the term house is very important because beforehand, Abraham calls it the mountain, right? The mountain, Har Moriah. So he sees it from a distance, refers to it as a mountain. Yitzchak, later, he refers to the place as a field, Sadeh, field. Okay, he's refers to the Temple Mount as a field. His perspective is on the Temple Mount. Abraham's perspective was from a distance. מה הבעיה? לא כולם הולכים שמאלה, אף אחד לא ילך ימינה. So and then Yaakov after his dream calls it Beit El, the house of God. And the fact he used the term house is very important because ultimately, מה?
למה לא? אני גם נוהג ללכת שם, אבל בן אדם רוצה, נו, אז מה?
We have a problem here. We have a arguments to choose where we should go, which route. So we're at an impasse here. We're at
What else is new?
We're stuck. in
That's
between
good.
Al-Aqsa and the Dome of the Rock, because the Jews don't know
Yeah.
where they want to go. Okay, great. And we have here the head of the Waqf is standing right here watching this.
Oh,
So
great.
anyhow, so Yaakov refers to it as a bite, as a house, and ultimately that the main focus. He sees the future, the house, the temple, Beit HaMikdash, right? That's what he sees. In other words, he's up here. Okay, if he was looking at reality, he'd be like Yitzchak, it's a field. There's nothing here. But he sees, like a lot of times people say, oh, so you go up to temple, so what do you see there? A bunch of Arabs and mosques. I said, no, I see the temple being rebuilt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because if you have a vision, you can see it. If you don't have
Yeah.
vision, you're lost. All you see is the reality of what's here now. So, in any event, he sees it as the house, refers to it as Beit HaMikdash. There's a bayit, is ultimately the Beit HaMikdash. And then he has the dream. Now, Rabbi Kahana, of course, always spoke a lot about that dream of Yaakov, because what does he see? He
Mm-hmm.
sees different angels going up and down this ladder leading to heaven. Stairway to heaven. Remember that song? Stairway
Great.
to heaven?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So he's got this stairway to heaven, and each angel represents one of the main nations. We have one represents Babylon, and the other represents the Greeks, and one represents the Romans, and the other represents the Persians. Those are the four superpowers back in that era. And he sees each angel, because each nation has its own angel, right? We say
Mhm.
the nation has an angel, that guardian angel for that nation. Except the
Right.
Jews don't have. We have Hashem. We don't need any angels. But in any event, he sees each angel for each nation go up, go to a certain level, and come down. Go up and come down. All right.
Right.
And so basically, what happens is the Midrash says that Yaakov was told to go up. He doesn't go up. He doesn't go up because he's afraid that he'll come back down. And if he comes back down, he'll be like the rest of the nations.
Mhm.
And then Hashem says, if you would have gone up, you never would have come down. In other words, again, this fear that we have, Jews are basically born with fear, and so fear overcomes them, so that it prevents them from bringing the true final redemption to the world. If you would have done that, the world would have been redeemed. We wouldn't have been exiled. There wouldn't have been all the suffering. And we find many examples of that throughout history, that the rabbis talk about, the sages talk about. Of if Chizkiyahu would have sang the Hallel when he was saved from the Assyrians, he would have been the Mashiach, and the Assyrians would have been Gog and Magog. So we have all these examples. This is one of the examples. Yaakov didn't go up, and Rabbi Kahana, spoke about the fact that, again, this is Yaakov is the symbol of the Jew. When the Jew is strong, Yaakov becomes Yisrael. When he's weak, he remains Yaakov. Right? That's why he has two names. One name
Mhm.
symbolizes the power and strength and faith and trust in Hashem, and the other one symbolizes the fearful Jew, the exiled Jew. And so, we got to the eastern side now. So now we're going to bow down over here. We've gotten to the eastern side. Here they started bowing down. Everybody's bowing down. I'm going to bow down like everybody else, because that's the main deal here. 1 second.
Right.
Bowing down here. Okay. I'm an old man here. Takes time to bow down and get up. Bowing down is for young people. So, the young people should be here.
Sure.
So my exercise for the day, bowing down on the Temple Mount. So Yaakov So Rabbi Kano, said that's now. You see, when do Jews become strong? When do they become Yisrael instead of Yaakov? It always takes some calamity. The Holocaust occurs, and then all of a sudden the Jews are strong and tough and fight and throw out the nations and defeat them in war. The same thing happens a year and a half ago, almost a year and a whole year, a few months ago, and on Shmini Atzeret, Simchat Torah, Shabbat, October 7th, the Jews again, a minor Holocaust, and they wake up again like lions and fight and do things that other nations look at us and say, "Wow, unbelievable! What a nation of warriors!" And that's the story, and that's what I kind of spoke about constantly was this unfortunate. Okay, here we go. They finished davening already. Wow. They're saying Elena. It's like Kaddish. We are on the eastern side. You can see over here.
Sure.
They're bowing down again. Shall I get Kaddish? Say Kaddish for my mother. יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, ועמד יברח יותי, וימליך מלכותי, ואצמח פורקני, וקרב ישיחי, וחייכון ונכון, חי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב, אמן. יש מי רבה ופורח, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתאמן ונשא. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודשה ברכו, לילה מכל תפתה ושירתה, דושבתה בנחמתה, דמרן ועמד במואמן. יהי שלום הרב בן שמאי, וחיים טובים עלינו בכל ישראל במואמן. שלום במואב. We are session on about call Israel in more name. Baruch. Baruch et Adonai Baruch. Okay, got that out of the way. Let's walk over here a little bit on the eastern side. Get close to the. We go walking over here. You see in front of us the place of the temple.
Yep.
And Hanukkah is coming up this month, of course. And that's the holiday of the Temple Mount. And again, strong Jews stood up and fought back, fought the superpower of the day, the Greeks, and their cohorts, threw them off the Temple Mount, redeemed it and purified it. And later this month, we'll be celebrating it, obviously throughout the world, but especially up here,
Right.
the place where it all happened. And remember, that was a war. A lot of Jews like to say, "Oh, that was a war of, liberation and freedom and so on." It had nothing to do with that. It all had to do with because basically the main enemy was the Hellenists, that were Jews who joined with the Greeks. So it was really it was a religious war. It was a totally religious war. Hashem. Like Matatyahu, the Hashmonai said, "Mila Hashem Elai, whoever's for Hashem, come and join us." His family who led the battles that took place, and set the tone for future generations, so that even today, even non-religious Jews still look at the Hanukkah and the Maccabees as as a big victory and miracle and whatnot that they celebrate. Hey, say hi to Meir, man. Look at this. We got one of your boys here, man.
Hey there, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you keeping?
I'm sharing the Temple Mount with the Jewish world. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I guess you got
Great
your
to
hands
see you.
full where you
Yes.
are. Yeah, great.
Yeah. You're hearing about But this is, whatever we do here is just totally minor compared to what you're doing there in Israel.
Well, everybody's trying to do what they can do, and all pointing towards one day everybody will be home and the temple will be built and Hashem's glory will be in the midst of his people Israel.
Amen.
And
Absolutely.
and by you bringing the Harabite to the people of the world, even through your show, you're advancing the cause in a great way. You know, that's what I believe. And,
Great.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
okay, all the best.
Bye. What? How's our? What do you call it? I thought we were gonna have a. Temple. What do you call it? You're gonna lead the Jews from the exile up for a temple international conference for the Temple Mount. How's
That should
going?
be. Well, we got to work on it.
Yeah, let's work on it. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, you could be the man. Lead the Jews to Israel. Hey, there's no tourists here, so the hotels are empty.
Right.
The only people in the hotels are the Jews from up north. Maybe they're going back home now, since
Right.
Sahel did do a great job in Lebanon. They uncovered incredible. I mean, just think about how right under our noses, all these years they've been planning this and preparing this, and tunnels and weapons and whatnot. I mean, just for the day that they can storm into the Galilee and kill as many Jews as possible and destroy as much as they can. And what a miracle that the Hamas couldn't wait. They couldn't wait. What a miracle.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, people who
Thank
have no
God.
vision, people with no vision see it as a Holocaust, and people with vision see it as an incredible intervention on Hashem's part to save the Jewish people from themselves. Ah, unbelievable, just unbelievable.
Yes.
And
Yes.
these losers still run the show. They still run the show. In the
Mhm.
army, the government, just never ends.
Right.
So, in any event, but Rabbi Kana the song that he wrote for the Jewish Defense League. We proud sons of the Maccabee, we stand up for Jewish rights. Right? That's how the song starts. The song of the Jewish Defense League. Because again, that was the symbol of Jewish pride and power during the Second Temple period, who believed and had faith and stood up to the superpower. The proud sons of the Maccabees who stand up for Jewish rights. And that's that was Rabbi Khan's message. And again, so Rabbi Khan said about Jacob's Yaakov's vision, his dream. Had he gone up, he never would have come down, and that was the problem. That he wasn't then at the time Israel. He didn't have yet
Mhm.
he wasn't imbued yet with that level of faith and trust that was Israel. He only gets it later when he fights the angel of Esau and defeats him in the battle,
Right.
in the struggle. That's when he becomes Israel. He's named Israel because he can stand up to he can fight an angel and defeat him in battle. The angel of Esau, who represents Rome, represents the Roman Empire. So we have here again this constant like we just had before, right? We're up here in the Temple Mount. One guy says we gotta go this way, the other guy says we gotta go that way. I can't go this way, I can't go that way, and half the people want to go with this guy, and half the people want to go with that guy, and that's ridiculous. I said this here in the Temple Mount, there's got to be one rule, and it can't be the defeatist. Those are the Kotel people. They can go down to the Western Wall. In the Temple Mount, there should be the maximum, whatever maximum we can do, whatever they'll allow us to do. Take advantage of it. Go for the maximum. Don't let us go closer. Go closer.
No, absolutely. There's no question about it. You have a new administration coming into being from the United States. And you got some of these people like Mike Huckabee and some others that you talk to them about about Harabite and that, and to them it's a no-brainer. Just uh, Jews should have access 24/7, 24 hours a day, uh, and already start discussions about rebuilding the temple. Come up with ideas how to implement it and all that. But on the other hand, you got a lot of Jews that and just like you're talking about, the personality of Yaakov, that when he evolves into when his name is changed, then he's the courageous Jew. But before that, it's the galut mentality.
Well, we saw that when in the story in Shem when they kidnapped Dinah, his daughter, and
Yep.
Shimon and Levi stand up and destroy, kill everybody in the town, rightfully so,
Yep.
and he's all scared and says, now the nations are going to come up and destroy us. It was the exact opposite. The nations were too afraid to go near us because we was so just two kids destroy an entire city. That's it's always like that. It just unfortunately, they here. I mean, anybody following this war here from the very beginning saw how they were afraid to go into here and they're ready to go into there and they got to wait for this and wait for that and and it was clear that you have to go into the Philadelphia Road in Rafiach and take that because that's where the weapons are coming in, and and then it took them 8 months. I think 8 months to finally go into finally take the Rafiach Road and they find 50 tunnels,
Right.
massive tunnels that they can drive straight across and into Gaza. So no wonder where all the weapons came from.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
gonna tell you, just unbelievable. Some guy was telling me yesterday. He said that there was some guy from the American Army or something like that was put in charge of monitoring movements. This is back in the after the Camp David Accords. Where Israel left the Sinai and gave it over to the Egyptians, and he was supposed to be monitoring the movements of the Egyptian army throughout. That they weren't allowed. They only had a very small amount of soldiers were allowed to be in the Sinai Desert, and he's supposed to be monitoring them. What do the Americans do? They send him over to the beach and make him the lifeguard, so he doesn't monitor any more movements by the Egyptian army. The Egyptian army took advantage of that, and many other examples of stupidity on our part, like the Egyptians saying we have to fight ISIS, so we need to move more soldiers and weapons and whatnot into the Sinai Desert, and the Israelis let them do it instead of saying, if you move one soldier more than is allowed, we're gonna go to war. They don't do that now.
Right.
In Lebanon, suddenly they're doing that. Suddenly they've woken up and realized that if you have
You just froze a little bit, Baruch.
truce and the other side breaks the truce, you're up. Hello?
Yep,
Hear
I
me?
can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, this guy calls me and then interrupts the transmission.
Right.
So now you see that in Lebanon, I hope that's true because that's what it seems like, that every breach of the truce that the Hezbollah does is there's a response on the part of Israel to the point
Right.
where the Americans are getting angry at us. Thank God they're getting angry at us. The Biden administration. But that's the way it's got to be. It can't be that they're always breaking the truce. They're always breaking agreements, and there's no payback. There's no sanctions. There's no response on our part. And hopefully, this is a new way on the part of the Jewish people, no longer to sit back, make make agreements that everybody breaks, and the only ones that keep it are us. So ridiculous.
Right.
So this guy was saying to me, he says they weren't monitoring the movement of the Egyptian army, and they weren't monitoring anything. So in the meantime, where did all these weapons come from? they were coming streaming from Egypt through the Sinai Desert into Gaza through those tunnels under the Philadelphia Road, and they were able to arm themselves like an army, the Hamas.
Right.
And then,
Right.
and then instead of capitulating to the Americans, allowing them humanitarian aid, which kept the Hamas alive, because they were confiscating, they were commandeering all this humanitarian aid, and then selling it for some outrageous price and keeping their coffers full so they can continue the war. I mean, it's ridiculous. You want to provide humanitarian aid, there's a way of doing it, and there's a way of not doing it. And certainly the way the Israelis did it was ridiculous. So, it's always, again, like I think it really is. I think that there's a certain element of the Jew that's Yaakov, and there's a certain element that's Yisrael. And we have to hope that the Israel side of the Jew takes over instead of the Yaakov side of the Jew.
Right.
With all due respect to Yaakov, but he didn't have the faith and trust until he defeated the angel of Esau.
Right. And that's clear in the Parsha.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We see Yaakov has to run away. I mean, to be honest with you, you always have to say Yaakov has to run away. Yaakov, he gets the blessing. He bought the birthright. He gets the blessing. Why does he have to run away? Why couldn't it be like, well, Yaakov, sit here. We'll send the slave to my father's house to bring you back a shidduch, a wife, just like they did with Yitzchak.
Right.
So they sent him out because he has to run away because he's afraid to stand up to Esav.
Right.
In the end, there's since we're talking about this battle between Yaakov and Esav, it's interesting that I think I might have mentioned it last year. I'm not sure, but there's a Rivka says to Yaakov why he has to go away, because she doesn't want to have to mourn both of them, lose both of them on the same day. Okay, meaning that they'll kill each other, right? They'll fight each other and they'll kill each other. So she says, go away so you don't kill each other. She couldn't see a possibility of Yaakov defeating Esav, but rather that the two of them will kill each other. And then there are those commentators that want to say, well, that was really a prophecy on her part, because we see there's a midrash brought down in the Babylonian Talmud that the day that Yaakov is being brought from Egypt to be buried at the cave of the Machpelah in Hebron, Esau comes along and says, wait a second, you can't bury him. That's my spot. He buried Leah in his spot, and this is my spot. He didn't buy my spot at the Machpelah. And they claim, the brothers claim, no, you did. You sold him. You sold it to him. He says, well, show me the proof. Show me a note, that I signed that says I sold it to him. So he said it's in Egypt. Okay, well then we'll send a fast runner, Naphtali, to Egypt. And he'll go and get the note, and then we'll prove that it belongs to Yaakov, and we'll bury him. So they're sitting there waiting for Naphtali to go back and forth. And then Hushim ben Dan, the son of Dan Hushim, who supposedly is deaf, doesn't know what's going on. He looks and sees Grandpa sitting there in disgrace, lying on the floor. He's not being buried. What's holding things up? So they tell him, the story of what's going on with Esau. He says, yeah, I'll show him. And he chops off Esau's head and they bury Yaakov. They don't wait for Naphtali. That's how it goes in the Babylonian Talmud. But in the Jerusalem Talmud, it's a different story. In the Jerusalem Talmud, it's not at Yaakov's burial that this happens. This happens at Yitzchak's burial. Yitzchak is buried. Both Yaakov and Esau show up to the funeral for Yitzchak. When Yitzchak dies, he's being buried at the Machpelah. And then Esav sees an opportunity when everybody's sitting outside the Machpelah crying about Yitzchak's death and being buried. Yaakov goes into the Machpelah, and behind him comes Esav because this is my opportunity to kill him inside the Machpelah from behind. I'll surprise him from behind.
Wow.
Judah, the son of Yaakov, who was on top of things, he saw what was going on. He goes in behind Esav and kills him from behind before he can kill Yaakov. And that's why she had this vision of them dying both days, because when Esav is thinking about killing Yaakov, it's as if he killed him, right? If a boy thinks about doing something bad, it's as if he did it. And Judah goes and kills Esav. So really, it's like that's when they both died the same day, even though Yaakov really didn't die.
Right.
And that's what she was worried. That's what she was worried about. And so really, in fact, it doesn't make sense. Even if it happened when Yaakov was buried, but he didn't die that day. He died way before that, and they embalmed him and they brought him from Egypt. So, bottom line is that it seems that the Babylonian Talmud story is way off, and that the story in the Jerusalem Talmud it makes a lot of sense and makes and fits, because right after we see the story of Yitzchak being buried in the Machpelah, we talk about Esav dying. It comes right afterwards. In other words, it seems like the reason why it comes right afterwards is because it's connected. He dies right after because he's killed by Yehuda. And the Gemara in the Talmud in Masechet Gittin talks about the fact, why do the Goyim hate us so much, the Jews, is because they say that Yehuda killed their god, their father, Esav. And because of that, because we killed their forefather, we're to blame. The Jews, though the descendants of Judah are to blame, and therefore we're hated, and Judea has to be destroyed and not allowed to be rebuilt. And that's why the Romans, had such wrath in destroying Judea. Not as much the Galil or any other place, but Judea. So it all has to do with the fact that Judah killed Esav, and I think that's where the whole idea of the Jews killed Yashka comes from. I think it comes from that.
Interesting.
Yashka becomes a replacement for Esav, and he takes over this. This is already old stuff. Esav is 1,000 years before Yashka. So they replaced the Esav. They replaced Esav with Yashka. Make him a god now. It's no longer a forefather, because Esav wasn't considered a god. Now we replaced him with a god or a son of God. What do they call him? So that's what I think. I got no proof of it. I just think that, but it's a possibility.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So and that's why that's why the call to kill the Jew was they killed our God. They killed our God. You know what I'm saying? No longer was they killed our forefather. Well, you know what? Killing our forefather is not as strong as they killed our God.
Right. From Judah.
And that's it. That's that's the and everything else is history, as they say. It all comes down to that. They need to give an excuse why to kill the Jew. They can't just
Interesting, the difference between the Jerusalem Talmud and the Babylonian Talmud on that.
100%.
Yeah,
Because look, now people ask me, so why does the Babylonian Talmud come up with this story
Yeah.
that's historically incorrect, and then they
Right.
pin it on this guy, Hushim Ben Dan, some
right.
kid who's deaf. So I think that the answer is, again, this is the Yaakov versus Yisrael conflict. I think that the rabbis, the sages in the Babylonian Talmud said, look, we see they blame the Jew for killing the God. And so let's killing the forefather, and we see the result of that. So let's he said let's pin it on this deaf kid, you know.
Yeah.
The Arabs do it all the time. They say, "Oh, he's crazy," some terrorist. He's
Right.
crazy, some kid is deaf. It wasn't the brothers that did it. They wanted to,
Right.
prove to him that they had to. If they were going to kill him, they could have killed him. Not send Naphtali back to bring the title to the
Right.
to the plot.
Right.
So it was a big cop out, and the other way the story goes, Yehuda kills him and brings the wrath of the goyim on Am Yisrael for all eternity. But because the Jews would stand up, like Yehuda, they would finish off the goyim and finish off the enemies of Israel, and we'd have redemption. But
Right.
the Jews don't want to be like Yehuda. They'd rather be like Shlomazel.
And that was and thus you have leading into Hanukkah with
Right.
the Maccabees that they Oh, yeah.
Yehuda Maccabee. Yeah, Yehuda Maccabee leads the battle. So Yehuda is a name of strength, of trust, of faith, of a warrior, the Judean warrior, and unlike the Galut Jew, who symbolizes weakness.
Mhm.
And I said one of the greatest pictures ever was this. I don't know if you saw it. There's a famous picture where they have this some rabbi, some religious Jew in Warsaw, Europe, somewhere in Europe during the Nazi era. They have
Right.
all these Nazi soldiers standing around him, and he's by himself with his tefillin on, and they're making fun of him and whatever, and he looks really pathetic. And then you have a picture of a rabbi now standing around him, all these Israeli commandos, in
Right.
all their gear, and and this rabbi doesn't look like a pushover, because he's got around him Jewish warriors.
Yep.
What a difference! And what are we talking about? We're talking about maybe it's a 50-year difference between the pictures, or 60 years, whatever it was,
Right.
70 years. But it doesn't matter. It's just the difference between that Galut Jew suffering at the hands of the Nazis as compared to the Eretz Yisrael Jews standing there with warriors, Jewish warriors around him. We see the
Right.
ability, despite all the mistakes and bad judgments by the leaders, the soldiers have proven incredible courage. They're talking about the courage. I mean, just think. I just want to point out, back on October 7th last year, the Shmini Atzeret, Simchat Torah, Shabbat, you had people, religious people, all over the country, somehow got understood. I don't know how, because I didn't understand it when I heard what was going on, but they understood that they had to pick up their guns and head south and fight without anybody sending them. Nobody called them up. Nobody said you got to go down and fight, because there was nobody in charge, and they did it on their own. And saved God knows how many Jews that would have been would have been butchered by the Hamas Nazis.
Mhm.
It's amazing. Think about the heroism of these people, and some of them, lost their lives. A few of them lost their lives doing that. But if that wouldn't have happened, God, who knows what would have been? Next thing you know, the Hezbollah would be coming across the border up north. It's just absolutely amazing. Miracles and heroism
Yes.
and Mesirut Nefesh, the willingness to give their souls for the sanctification of God's name. It's really an amazing era, And you
It is.
have two pairs of glasses. You have the Yaakov glasses and you have the Israel glasses. And the question is, really upsets me though is how in our generation somehow the name Yisrael, which really should be a name of strength and power and so on, and and it's misused by people who say, well, we want to be Israelis, not Jews. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, these people once in a while I come across these people. No, we're not. We have a new religion here. It's called the Israel, a new people, Israel people. You don't have to be Jewish to be part of it, and we're no longer Jews. We're no longer Yehudim, not Jews. Judim, Jew comes from Judea, from Judah, and it's really together. It should be together. Yisrael of Yehuda. Maybe just Yisrael by itself without Yehuda. You know what I'm saying? Maybe back then, before Yehuda revealed himself as the leader, the father of the monarchy of David HaMelech.
Mhm.
Fine, Yisrael, but then once Yehuda came along, it even says it when you say the Hallel, Yehuda Yisrael. They're combined. They're one force. You can't separate it. It's not Yisrael and Yaakov. It's Yisrael and Yehuda. So anyhow, we're almost at the end of our circling the mount. We're here now on the western side, as we say here. We're right. This is the closest we can get to the Holy of Holies inside here, inside the Dome of the Rock. Behind us, our backs are to the western wall of Herod, the Heronian western wall, not the real western wall. The real western wall we know is over here. Right over here is the real western wall of the temple. And we're standing here right in front of the Holy of Holies, the closest we can get. And it's our last chance to pray here, say a prayer before we leave the Temple Mount. And of course, we're praying for all the injured people, all the injured soldiers from the war. We're praying for the hostages to be relieved, freed. We're praying for all the people of Israel. We're praying that the Jews all come home. And and we're praying, of course, the most important thing is that we retake the Temple Mount, remove all the obstacles to rebuilding the temple and renewing the sacrifices in the service of the Kohanim and Leviim, Meir the Halevi. You have a lot of work to do up here.
Absolutely. So, Baruch, the past year or over a year doing the podcast from Harabite, we've seen change. It used to be, if you pray, if you move your lips, you're arrested, you're escorted off, you're written up. That's changed. It used to be that if you bow down on Harabite, the Jew would attempt. I mean, he's just
Last year on Yom Kippur, we had to stop the broadcast for 2 months because I was banned for 2 months from the Temple Mount because I bowed down on Yom Kippur. Remember that?
Right.
And
yes.
And I remember this year on Yom Kippur telling everybody that was up here, I said, look at this. We're bowing down here on Yom Kippur. Last year, I was removed from the Temple Mount and banned for months because I bowed down. Look at the difference. Amazing. And everybody was like, yes, it's great. It sounds like we see the
And
miracle.
there's and there's services going on Harbite with a lot of people, a lot of Jews.
Everybody is praying. Look, everybody's here praying.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's great. It's tremendous. Without any
Yeah,
problems. Hopefully, going forward with this
and we barely see the
friendly,
Arabs. There's barely any Arabs.
right?
The more stronger we are up here, the less power they have. It's just
Right.
In the world is like it is, it's like give and take. Rabbi Kahana would call it mida keneged mida. Everything's a measurement. As if the stronger we are, the weaker they are. The weaker we are, the stronger they are. That's the way it's got to be. And if we don't show strength, then they're going to show strength, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. There's no vacuum. There's no in between. It's either one or the other. The rabbis had a great term for that. They said, if Jerusalem is on top, then Rome is on the bottom. If Rome's on top, then Jerusalem's on the bottom. Can't be that they're both
Right. Right.
So that's it. That's basically the story. And I really think we do need to make a better connection, like your friend said before, a better connection between the Jews in Chutz La'aretz and the Temple Mount. And I think that a lot of Jews are missing that. That if they knew that there was a temple here and that they had an obligation to come to the temple, it's a different story. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, well, there's no, I can learn Torah here, I can learn Torah there. I can do a mitzvah here, I can do a mitzvah there. But the temple and all the service at the temple, you can't do there. That's. I once had that in a Shabbat. That was a Shabbat of this organization called Arachin, and they told my wife that I was not allowed to talk because I'll upset their program. It was on Shabbat, Shabbat and Shavuot. It was 2 days at a hotel in Jerusalem. And I sit in a class on the last class of the program, and this guy is saying that there's no mitzvah to live in the land of Israel. And he says, oh, because this girl asked, what kind of, and there's all different types of Judaism. How do we know which one is right? This guy is saying, well, any Judaism that makes one mitzvah more important than the other, like the Jews that say Eretz Israel is more important than anything else, you can't follow them. And he starts giving this whole thing. I started yelling at the guy. I says, you're a liar. You know what you're talking about. You're lying to these people. He says, there's no Eretz Israel, there are no mitzvahs. And then this guy comes over to me and he says, oh, you can't do this. You're ruining our program. I said, listen, stop lying to these people. You can't say that that Eretz Israel is not the most important mitzvah. You can't build a temple in Chutz La'aretz. You can't build it in Eretz Israel. What are you talking about?
Right.
The Rambam, because this guy tried to close with the Rambam. I says the Rambam doesn't even mention it as a mitzvah because all these other mitzvot are all dependent upon it. It's a super mitzvah. It's a mitzvah above all the mitzvahs. I says you can't. And the guy couldn't argue with me because obviously there's no argument. It's a mute point.
It's the foundation. It's the cornerstone of a Sefer HaKuzari.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So but who learns the Kuzari anyhow?
Right.
Who's Rabbi Yehuda Levi? It's all you just read, you just learn or Rayon or Rabbi Kana. It's all there.
Sure.
You got the whole picture. He gives it to a T. Everything is. If you don't learn, I learn every day a little bit, just a little bit, one paragraph a day. That's all you need to keep yourself focused. Because we had his yard site a couple of weeks ago, and then we have his son Binyamin on his yard site coming up.
Right.
For Hanukkah, and they're missing. They're missing because they were true leaders. You know, as good as his followers are, they as good as some of his followers are, they're nowhere near, you know, what Rabbi Kahana and Benjamin Kahana were.
100%.
And,
Yeah, Baruch, on that note, Michael Brand, you mentioned to me earlier today. So maybe you could just say a few words. You know, he
Yeah,
was from the JDL in New
right.
York, made Aliyah, and
Right. Michael Brand was a very good friend of mine. We were neighbors for many years. We established the Karl Barth Synagogue in Mitzvah Novo in Ma'ale Adumim. Yes, he was a very big follower of Rabbi Kahana, a member of the Jewish Defense League. And I remember one time somebody donated to the shul, this Karl Barth shul that we made a thing, you know, one of those, what do you call it? Like what's the word for it? You put it on like the bima, you put it on the Aron Kodesh, or something that had memory of Rabbi Kahana. The people went berserk there. You know, some of the people can't do that. We're not Kahana. We're not.
oh,
He got so upset. It's so upset, Michael. He got fed up of trying to convince them. He said, you know, let's just donate it to, you know, somewhere where they'll appreciate it, because these people are lost. And that's something even here, you know, in Eretz Yisrael, Ma'ale Adumim, something in the memory of Rabbi Kahana was too much for them. They couldn't deal with it.
yeah.
So yeah, he passed away suddenly last Thursday. And he was up here on the Temple Mount, of course. Yeah, I was up here with him. I brought him up here many years ago. You know, he always had his heart and mind in the right places.
Yeah.
Affected a lot of Jews in a good way. And a lot of people came to the funeral and the Shiva. What could I say? You know, it's like his wife says, Hashem determines person's, you know, when he's going to go. And there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes it's just, you know, that's the way it's got to be. So we'll miss him, but we'll keep going.
Yeah, sure.
We're not stopping
Right.
for anything. We're not stopping at the red light, and we're not stopping at the stop sign. We're just going to keep on going, moving on with the Temple Mount, with the prayers, with the bowing down. Hopefully, we'll get to the next level, something even bigger.
Hopefully this Hanukkah, we can light the menorah on Har
Well,
Bayit.
we do plan. I remember last year we had the March of the Maccabees. It was a big riot broke out because the police constantly always break their promises. This year they already told us that they're not going to let us do it. So we're going to file an appeal to the Supreme Court and see what happens. You know, it brings the people out. Like we said, the Maccabees, you know, the Maccabees mean something to people. It's a call of Jewish strength and pride. And like we said, these, you know, today we have modern day Maccabees, and we want to connect the Maccabees of history to the Maccabees of modern day. And so I'll keep you posted what happens with our petition to get the permission to have the March of the Maccabees from what's called Kikar Tzahal Plaza, which is right next to the old city. We want to come all the way down and protest in front of the officers of the WAC, the Islamic WAC, next to the Temple Mount. So I'll keep you posted. In the meantime, keep up the good work.
Thank you. Let's try to do this again next week.
Okay, great. All right.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Baruch.
Goodbye.
Let me just ask everyone who was watching if you could please share this on the various platforms that you use, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform you use, WhatsApp groups. We'd appreciate it. We'll reach a lot more people. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Shalom, shalom.